Hi, so I am in Torrance, California, with a man who is one of my heroes. I got to meet him, I think it was 2011. Yeah, I met you early
Yes.
on when
Yes.
we were first doing the labeling for the genetically engineered food thing before it was even a ballot initiative. I got to meet Jim, and I'm going to invite him to tell us a little bit about his story. The first thing I love is to hear what his job is. So, what is it that you do on a day-to-day basis?
I hope to land things on Mars for a living.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So you're a rocket scientist.
Yes, I am.
I love saying that.
Yes.
Even a rocket scientist knows that food should be genetically engineered food should be labeled.
That is correct.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, uh, so tell me a little bit there, but there are other pieces about you besides being your rocket scientist. As you can see, we're here in a garden. So tell us a little bit about your life here, your yard, your water, your whatever, all that stuff you do here.
Yeah, certainly. So I grew up in Michigan, born in '64, moved to California in '84, and just it was pretty much a huge paradigm shift to going from green, wet Michigan to dry, brown California. And where, everyone had gardens and everyone grew food, and where I lived in an apartment and couldn't grow anything other than maybe a few herbs, in an apartment windowsill. And back in 2008, my wife and I bought this house, and my dream has always been to basically just create a food forest, where basically we could, be a little house on the prairie and basically grow our own food. And also a big believer in trying to live lighter on the planet, because coming from Michigan where it was very wet and green and everything seemed nice, and coming to California we were in a drought at the time and smog was horrible, and it just really impressed upon me just how much we were degrading the planet even back in '84, and how I didn't want to be part of the problem, as they say, be part of the solution. And so I just try to live by example and just basically figure out how to do things where I can, not only maybe reduce my consumption on the planet, but actually turn it around and actually help regenerate the planet.
So what all does that look like in its various forms?
So pretty much I look at all the things I need as a human being to survive, and then try and figure out how to lessen those things. Consume less, that's an easy one, but also try and produce, here on our property. So again, we have a lot of food here. We have 30 fruit trees.
Wow.
Yeah, right. There's a fig tree right behind you full of figs right now. I've got basically 4 vegetable beds here, with a variety of food. When I first, actually I'll show you. This was our soil when we first moved in, so that's, sorry Pam. It's 99% sand, 1% silt. And now what it is this. Oh, nice.
Oh wow, that's
nice,
beautiful.
Nice rich soil,
That's
right?
beautiful. Here, talk to the site.
Okay, sorry.
The soil.
So right, and so it's like building soil, because I remember, I think it was I forgot who said it, but farmers don't grow food, they grow soil.
Yeah.
And I really became aware of that, with the mycorrhizae and the bacteria and the nematodes, and so it's basically I spend a lot of time now in growing soil, so composting, mulching, cover crops. I mean, all the things that we to regenerate the soil.
Cool.
So that's one thing. So growing our food, we have solar panels on the roof. We have a 4 kilowatt system, and we generated so far about 52 megawatt hours since 2010. We have a couple electric vehicles, so we plug them in, so we drive on sunshine. Because I really realized climate change has been something that's concerned me for decades.
Yeah, but you've had an electric car for a long time, right?
Yeah, my first electric car was 1992. It was a Pontiac Fiero. And it was a gas car, and we converted it to electric by replacing replacing the motor and the gas tank with batteries and an electric motor, and it got the whopping range of about 30 miles on a charge, 0 to 60 in about a minute, and about a day to recharge it. Fast forward to,
You got to start somewhere.
you do, right? And I'm also a big believer in living by example. That I think is critical. And so every year we actually have here in the South Bay something called the Solar and Green Homes Tour. And my wife and I have been on the tour now for almost a decade. And it's what's exciting to me about this is people come and they see what's real, and they get inspired. And we have repeat customers that come year after year, and they'll say, oh, we put rain barrels on our house, or we put solar panels on our roof, or we're growing tomatoes now, right? And so I think that's, it's like each of us can teach others through our experiences and show people that it really is possible. And it's like nothing major to grow your own food. Just put some seeds in the ground and water it and Mother Nature does the rest.
So you talked a little bit about water. What is it that you do with your water barrels?
So, nice program here. We get free rain barrels every year,
Nice.
55-gallon rain barrels, and I've now got 17 of them.
Wow.
So we have over 1,000 gallons of water storage here on our property, and I use that. It could be potable if I want it to be, but I use it for watering our fruit trees and that type of stuff. And so, yeah, we save many thousands of gallons of water per year. So that's one thing we do. We also do laundry to landscape. So when we do our laundry, we basically just run a hose out here in the yard and we water our landscape. We hand wash our dishes, and we take the dish pan and we dump it on the trees. I installed a bioswale, so when it rains, the water goes down a rain chain and out into the lawn, and we capture it that way. We also reduce our usage. So I've never watered a grass lawn here since day one. We let it die when we moved in, and I put a bunch of California natives in. So we've created habitat, with sages and buckwheats, and what used to be just this desert with no life, we now have birds and lizards and butterflies and pollinators, and it really is an oasis of life. I mean, if I could show you pictures of what this was, well, when we first moved in, this was literally nothing but grass, and there was no life, so that's part of what it looks like.
Very, very cool. So another part of your life that I thought maybe you could share a little bit about is this activism. Now, I do remember during those days, I was desperately trying to find people who would be willing to lead their areas. Jim resisted for quite a while.
I did, but Pam is a very difficult person to resist for too long. Yeah, I remember being at the time, it was like 2011, I was working on the Mars Curiosity mission. We were launching in November of 2011, and I said, yeah, I don't like GMOs, been wearing them for a very long time, and that's a wonderful thing you're doing, but I can't get involved right now.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yes, and before I knew it, I was the leader of the South Bay Label GMOs.org group. So thank you, Pam.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And you did an amazing job, build up quite a big group here. But then you also went on to become part of, and I forget what, for your community, you were on some kind of a board or something?
Yeah, so I'm actually a commissioner in the city of Torrance. It's an appointed commission. I'm on the Torrance Environmental Quality and Energy Conservation Commission. And so, yeah, anything of that nature comes before our commission. And the idea in Torrance is the mayor and city council members, there's like 140,000 in the city. We're kind of like a vetting or a sounding board for some of these things. So one of the things I'm very proud of is that we were able to go ahead and get the ordinance changed in here in Torrance to allow people to keep chickens and bees. And as a matter of fact, if we went on the other side of the house, there's chickens over there now that our neighbors, there's about 24 or so people now in the city that have gotten licenses or permits and have chickens.
Very, very cool.
Yeah. I mean, so, that's just, we do that. We do like plug-in electric vehicle charging, trying to get solar panels, in people's houses. We have a climate action plan where we're trying to go ahead and make Torrance, more sustainable in that regard. So it's a nice position. I've been there for 4 years. I just got actually elected the chairman by my fellow commissioners, which is kind of neat. And so I just, to me, I think it's incumbent upon each of us as human beings to do what we can, figure out what our skills are, what our passions are. Maybe it's, serving on a commission, or maybe it's writing letters as an editor, maybe it's just, doing things, off by yourself. But, I think all of us, and it's, I get more from it than I give, and I got a lot from being with you with labelgmos.org, and all the wonderful things we did. I mean, we ignited a conversation across the nation and really around the world, I think, which is kind of exciting.
Yeah, it was, and it is. And so folks, Jim Montgomery takes us to the stars and the planets, but his feet very well grounded upon the earth.
That's right.
And so I want to thank you for talking with us. And is there any last thing you'd like to share with folks about anything?
Wow. So I can tell the world anything I want.
You can.
Okay. Here it goes. Put me on the spot.
Okay.
I believe that compassion is the key. And so I'm trying to live a life of compassion, and so I think, if each of us in our thoughts, words, and deeds basically grounded them in compassion, it would be a much nicer world for all of us. So that's my message, compassion.
Thank you, Jim. Big hug.
Oh, thank you.
And thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.